we're good to go. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Call to order this meeting of the Agricultural Advisory Committee of Thursday, September 8th, 2022. Welcome, everyone. Appreciate all the members coming. I know it's a busy time of year. So can we have the first item, please?
First item, adoption minutes.
We have a motion to adopt the minutes, please.
I'll make that.
Ooh.
Casey.
By Angela, second by Casey. All in favor? Carried. Next item.
Right, next item, 6.1. This is the ALC application for a non-farm use at 30325 Canary Court. Assistant Planner Stephanie will provide a brief introduction.
Thank you and good afternoon, everybody. So this is an overview of what we would ask the committee to consider in the recommendation. As Mark said, this is a non-farm use application for a veterinary care research and learning facility located at 30325 Canary Court. The subject property is approximately 2 hectares located west of Mount Lehman Road and on the north side of Canary Court. It is located within the ALR, right outside of the urban development boundary, and is utilized for a poultry operation. The property is designated Agriculture 1 Uplands in the OCP and is zoned A1. The soil type consists of silt and clay. The soil type consists of silt and clay. The property currently contains a single detached dwelling, poultry barn, and consulting business within an accessory building. The proposed non-farm use would allow for a 718 square meter veterinary care, research, and learning facility. The One Health Clinic would provide full service veterinary care on and off site and includes a research and learning center while accommodating ancillary activities such as office space. The committee is asked to comment on whether this application should be supported as proposed, supported in another format, not supported, or to provide no comments.
Is the applicant here? Yes. Great, thanks.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me here. My name is George Otieno. By profession, I'm a civil engineer, but I'm also an agriculture enthusiast. In terms of my relationship to the applicant, Dr. Stuart Ritchie, who unfortunately is not able to be here with us today, is my father-in-law. And Dr. Ritchie founded Canadian Poultry Consultants back in the early 90s, as well as S.J. Ritchie Research Firms. And both businesses currently occupy the subject property. I'm also privileged to have me here, Dr. Ken McQuiston. Dr. McQuiston seems like he knows quite a number of people in the room. He's a fairly well-known vet here in Abbotsford. And not only is he a longtime friend of Dr. Ritchie. So at this moment, I'm going to ask Dr. McQuiston to maybe just talk about what we're proposing here at this site, which is not only an innovative vet practice, but I think substantially beneficial to agriculture here in the city.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for pulling this together. That was amazing seeing all this technology coming to fruition. Appreciate the opportunity to not have to reschedule this meeting. Basically, I know you've read all through it, but I just want to point out some of the highlights. Totally appropriate application. You may notice that the location of the property is right on the fringe, the interface between commercial and the agricultural land reserve. And I think providing this veterinary hospital is an appropriate use of space that is otherwise going unused in that very location. We're saying that we want to put a veterinary hospital on a section of the land next to the existing poultry barn. As you know, most poultry facilities have a very large barn situated in the center of a property with a lot of basically unused space. There's a big buffer zone, but we think that by having this veterinary facility next to the poultry barn in this space on the property actually enhances the ability to keep this property in the ALR as opposed to threatens it. We're seeing this as a feature that should be viewed as a very positive perspective. And you may know before the revamping of the ALR protocols and zoning that historically veterinary hospitals have been an approved use. We didn't even have to go through this process in ALR1 land. And there are many veterinary hospitals throughout the Lower Mainland that are currently on ALR land and serving the agriculture community from there. This is a unique joining of forces. Dr. Ritchie and I currently are owners of the Townline Veterinary Hospital. Dr. Ritchie has owned this property for a long, long time. He runs the poultry operations out of there and his poultry practice. And we are keenly interested in this concept of One Health, which is a concept that is taking off. Those are you may not be familiar with it. It's the idea that everything is interconnected. From a human health point of view and an animal health point of view and a production point of view is all together. Of course, every farm has dogs and cats. They also have pet birds. They have, or many of them have pet birds. The idea of combining the workforce of veterinarians from two different veterinary hospitals into one facility has tremendous benefits in terms of pulling this all together, this One Health concept. And so we're excited about this possibility. Like I say, I think putting this hospital on this location, right on the fringe, on the edge of the agricultural land reserve, also is a benefit in terms of we know that if you're having a place where you're trying to attract people, you don't necessarily want to have that in the core of the agricultural area. This, as you know, is just right on the edge of Mount Lehman Road. Is a quick 100-yard turn off of the road there. And I think this particular facility and research facilities is going to be a showpiece for this concept of the country and the city and the country. And so we welcome any questions that you may have.
Does anyone on the committee have any questions? Really see any hands raised, so maybe just jump in if you want. Is that
Yeah.
Casey? Sorry, it's really
Yes.
small.
Sorry, my hand was raised up there. I had raised it because I don't know if it's just my computer or if it's the way people are speaking into the mic and maybe turning, but I'm finding it very difficult to catch the whole conversation. But so I don't know if it's only me or if it's something in the
The
room.
same issue is a bit choppy as well, Casey.
Is that? Okay.
I think I got the gist of it. Not sure about you, Casey.
Yeah, I did, and I'd read through it before, so I don't. Yeah, enough, but enough that I could get through it. But if you could improve on it, that'd be great. Yeah, I guess further to that, as far as the presentation goes, I would have just a question as far as we're asking for a veterinary clinic that's working with production agriculture, I assume, and not a small animal clinic. I would be supportive of, and I think there's lots of precedent for production agriculture having vet clinics on agriculture land, but I hope we're not moving forward to putting pet hospitals all over the agriculture land. So just to clarify that this is strictly for poultry and other production agriculture.
It's definitely not just for poultry and other agriculture. It's also presentation. The idea is to combine it with a companion animal practice, an existing companion animal practice that is owned by the owner of this poultry production spot. So, like I say, this combination is consistent with this One Health idea. One thing that is happening at the existing companion animal practice is that we have a business called small flock care. So people that have individual chickens, and that's usually chickens that have names, tend to go into a veterinary hospital and be treated as individuals. But the health issues are the same, and the risks of these animals having disease that they can transmit to the commercial industry are the same as any commercial person having that. So a small animal veterinary hospital is an appropriate place to treat these individual chickens and poultry. So, and by extension, there is lots of crossover. There isn't a distinct line between what's small animal and what is agriculture. For instance, the other thing our practice does out of the Townline Veterinary Hospital is we service small ruminants. So we go out to farm and we have small ruminants like from hobby farms that have goats and sheep and llamas and alpacas. If they need to have some veterinary hospital care, they come into our hospital. Use our hospital as the rallying point or the central point to go out and visit these farms. So there's a tremendous amount of crossover, and that, like I say, that's the One Health benefit. So there definitely would be dogs.
And I believe the breakdown that was provided by the applicant was 50% poultry integrated health management services, research and One Health management, 35% small animals, including companion animals, and then 15% livestock animals other than poultry for treatment at the farm location or offsite, and select cases at the veterinary facility. That's sort of the breakdown.
If we could just a note to anyone who's going to be speaking in the future, if you could just really make sure you raise your voice as much as you can so the mic picks it up for the people that are on the Zoom calls. Yeah.
Maybe I could just add to that, the two white squares on the ceilings are the microphones. You're at the podium and turning your head towards the screen and back to the table tends to interrupt the audio. So when you're speaking, if you can just direct it towards the speaker or the mics, that would be helpful.
Thank you. Okay, I think Katarina, Angela, you had your hand up first.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so my question is to the applicant in regards to the research that will be conducted on the facility. If you could just elaborate on that, is it like more on a molecular level, like you'll be having a lab inside the facility, or is it more in regards to animals interacting with the environment, such as like the soil or the atmosphere, and you require specifically agricultural land to do that on? And also the research that you're planning on doing, have you started it? And what kind of plans do you have in regards to that? Like, are you going to contribute to research in the agricultural field, or is it more in regards to general animal health? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. The research that's taking place or that's proposed to take place is currently taking place on that 40,000 bird barn on the property. And it's used for commercial production, but it's also used as a test site for Canadian Poultry Consulting to test various types of feed, lighting, humidity, temperature issues for raising of commercial. That particular facility is currently contributing to a lot of research, which has immediate benefit to the local community because Dr. Ritchie is a consultant for a huge number of farms from that point of view. The other thing is that we intend to try to make it as eco-friendly of a farm as possible. There are plans for solar electricity. There's also plans for water diversion and that kind of thing. So so that's the kind of research. The research there won't be any kind of actual planned research from other animals point of view. The research is mostly poultry and aspects of it.
Sorry, the voice kind of broke out at the very end. Can you just repeat what you had mentioned?
The
You
research
can just
is,
raise your voice as much as you can.
the research is mostly confined to the poultry aspects of things. That it's an ongoing aspect of what is happening there currently.
Okay. And the research would be published in like journal articles for the public, or is it just more industry based, like private research?
Some is, and some already is published, and
Okay.
some also is for sharing within the clientele.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I think Katarina was next.
Yes, thank you. Just unmuting myself there. My thoughts, comments are it's certainly a unique proposal. Doesn't mean necessarily that it's not supportable just because it's unique. But my first question is, and I assume there's a demand for this. I was just there. I didn't really see any evidence or substantiation as to the demand for this. And then my second thought was, and I think it was similar to what Casey had sort of pointed out, was, the precedent that something like this sets on ALR land. So those are my two thoughts around it. So maybe the applicant could just speak to maybe the evidence, and then I think the whole precedent question really is something that council and the city needs to consider and would be the best position to consider with respect to this application.
As far as the need, the veterinary profession has never been under more pressure than it is now. Avian flu is one example of that. And the cross between animal health, bird health, and human health is a really important aspect. So the small animal veterinary hospital that is proposed to move onto site is bursting at the seams right now. It's 5 veterinary hospitals, gone from 2 to 5 in the last 3 years. The demand for veterinary services is huge. The small flock concept of dealing with individual birds is one that hasn't ever really been explored in the Fraser Valley, but the demand is huge. There's over 1,000 small flocks in this lower mainland area alone. And these people have no place to turn right now. They are bringing their birds into small animal veterinary hospitals that actually don't have the expertise to deal with them other than one-offs as an animal that may be injured or have disease. But by bringing them to a small animal facility that is actually incorporated with a farm use, a commercial, integrated with the commercial aspects of veterinary medicine, just really enhances the type of care that can be provided there. And also these small flocks act as kind of a sentinel for disease. So there's, by combining the veterinary effort all into one facility, have an enhanced service for that. As far as precedent goes, as I mentioned, there are lots of veterinary hospitals currently on agriculture land 1 that have been a previously accepted use, not causing any problems. And I don't think you're going to find a slew of applications. You'll notice that there is a veterinary facility right on Sumas Prairie. Ag West is right out there in Abbotsford. And it seems to me that because of the support and because of the need for having a place to bring these animals from time to time, that the appropriate place is on agricultural land. especially when it comes to small flocks and the small ruminants.
If I could just add that you were just touching on my third question that popped to my mind was just sort of, the rationale as to like why this has to be on ALR land versus elsewhere. So you did touch on that. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to elaborate on for that.
Well, in order to provide the One Health, it needs to come into one location. It's very difficult to provide One Health, the One Health concept in multiple locations because it kind of totally contradicts the whole idea. And so since Dr. Ritchie has had this property, we're not asking for, we're not going out and trying to buy some property and change its zone, occupy it. We're trying to enhance the use of this property for an agricultural purpose by expanding services beyond even that on this piece of land.
Thank you very much.
Okay, does anyone else have a question? Okay, if not, can we have a motion, preferably with a reason helpful? Anyone? Casey?
Yeah, I would at this point make a motion to not support the project as presented. I'm fully supportive of the idea of the production agriculture having this facility on ALR land and even the small flock poultry, but I just think we're setting precedent as far as opening this up to a random small animal. I agree Ag West is also on, but they're strictly production agriculture. So I love a lot of the idea. I just wish we could separate off the pet hospital stuff. So as presented, I'm making a motion to not support.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Katerina. All in favor of the motion? Suk, we can't see your hand. Can you indicate whether you're in favor or opposed to the motion?
So we got a seconder. Can we discuss it? I just
Oh, yes, absolutely.
just wondering whether if this business was just strictly production agriculture, whether that would be viable. And I think it was mentioned like what percentage was going to be production agriculture. I didn't catch it all together. We got cut off a little bit here. But to the proponents, is that something that would be viable if it just, just keep it to production agriculture as opposed to pets?
Stephanie, I think you read out the numbers. Could you just briefly do that? Maybe stand up so they can hear you. Sorry.
So the breakdown was 50% poultry integrated health management services, research and One Health management, 35% small animals, including companion animals. So that's where I don't know the breakdown between small animals, the companion versus production. And then 15% livestock animals other than poultry with treatment at the farm. So offsite and select cases at the vet clinic on site.
Okay, does that help you, Sue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can the proponents at this point answer that question, whether if they were just to go strictly agriculture production and agriculture small animals and their research, would that still be something that they'd be willing to do? Or would that be a viable option for them? Or they need everything in order to have this business be viable, in their opinion?
In order to build the facility of all of it, it currently is providing veterinary services to the commercial commercial poultry industry. This was an enhancement of their ability to provide services and justifies the building of the facilities. For instance, the second floor is meeting rooms and space that was anticipated to be used by having veterinarians come in from all over North America and the world, actually, and have a place to meet in a place that is right on an operating farm with a view of Mount Baker on the edge of the interface between the agricultural land and the commercial land. And without the cash flow, without the business operating below, which would be primarily the small flock and the companion animals, there isn't a business case to be made for making that building.
Okay, I think we have to get moving on here. We've spent quite a bit of time on this one, and we've got like, what, 4 or 5 to go. So unless there are any more pressing questions.
So I think I will oppose the motion on the floor because I do think there's some benefit for this size parcel, which is really not lend itself to, regular agriculture activity, that I think the proposed facility would offer some benefits to agriculture. So the current motion I cannot support because it's opposed to the proposition.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. So I believe when I called the question, we had all in favor, so that would be 1 opposed then, correct?
Yes.
Right. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Next item, please.
Okay, the next item, 6.2, this is a liquor and cannabis regulation branch lounge endorsement application at 30523 Burgess Avenue. Again, this is Stephanie will provide us an introduction.
Thank you. Again, this is what we would ask the committee to consider for this application. As Mark said, this is an Lcrb lounge endorsement application for a manufacturer license located at 30523 Burgess Avenue. The subject property is approximately 8.2 hectares. It is located on the north side of Burgess Avenue and within the ALR. The property is designated Agriculture 1 Uplands in the OCP and is zoned A1. The soil types consist of sand and silt and gravel and sand. The property currently contains a single detached dwelling with accessory structures and vineyards. The winery production facility and tasting room are currently under building permit review. These uses do not require a development application with the city. The proposed endorsement would allow the operator, Cannon Estate Winery, to serve additional product within the indoor and outdoor lounge beyond the tasting and sampling that is permitted under a manufacturer license. The committee is asked to comment on whether this application should be supported as proposed, supported in another format, not supported, or to provide no comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the applicant here?
Yes, I'm the agent for the applicant. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to do a presentation.
You don't have to. It's
No, that's
entirely
okay.
up to you. You don't have to do a presentation, just say a few words.
Okay. Yeah, this is a manufacturing application that has already, we just went through the inspection last Friday. It is, we're literally waiting for the approval on the manufacturing building, which has a tasting room and a retail store. The tasting room itself can only do tasting sizes. The reason for building the lounge is to allow it to be a venue for tourism. You know what I mean? To build into the agriculture, right? This is an alcohol production, and the lounge will just enhance the overall winery concept. So we meet all requirements in regard to the ALR. The lounge size is below the ALR allowance without actually getting permission. And we feel it works perfectly for the land that we are using.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of the committee? Angela?
Yes, I have a question for the applicant, actually 2 questions potentially. So here in Abbotsford, there's quite a few wineries and tasting lounges. What is unique about your lounge? And in regards to the lounge that you are asking for permission to develop, what is the demand? Like, do you have people already booked to use that space? Or how often do you think it'll be occupied fully? for lounge purposes. If you could comment on that, thank you.
Andy?
Yeah, hi, my name is Andy Hale and I'm the business manager, father-in-law of the owners, and father-in-law. What's unique about this vineyard and winery is that it's a French style wine production facility. It's got 12.4 acres of various varietals planted already. Our mission really is to provide rationale that the Fraser Valley is an excellent place to make wines, opposed to going up to the Oka. So that's a core mission of the team. But what makes us unique is the kind of wines that we make, the style of wine. We imply a French style winemaking where the winemaker is also the tender of the vineyard. He's a viticulturalist and the winemaker, which is not really the way it's normally done in North America. So that's one unique feature of our vineyard and winery. And specifically to your question, the lounge is there to enhance the experience because currently the manufacturing facility is a very limited portion that can be used for tasting. It's literally 5 feet by 50 feet, very, very cramped. You can't really provide more than service for more than a few people. The lounge would be a more located but a aesthetically pleasing area for folks to enjoy the wines and samples. Very limited food offerings, just pre-prepared foods, charcuterie board type of setup, not a full kitchen or restaurant. Don't expect there to be huge traffic. It would be open during the normal hours for any tasting, like local wineries like the Mount Lehman and the Seaside Pearls or et cetera, or Singletree. Those are in the local area there. So, but in terms of like how often is it open? It'll be open during the normal business hours of the winery. It's not going to be we can't really make reservations for it yet because it's not even built. So there's no lineup of folks that have booked it, but there's lots of interest in it actually from folks through our website, canonwinery.ca, if you want to find out more information about the owners or the viticulturalist and winemaker, Patrick Landon. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you for your response.
Thank you. Katerina?
Yeah, am I able to put a motion to support as presented with rationale at this point?
I believe so, unless anybody else has a question. Doesn't look like it. Yeah, go ahead, Katerina.
So I'd like to put forth the motion to support as presented with the rationale being that it's all within alignment, as has already been said, with ALC. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we need to be supporting is agritourism. And it's very consistent, I think, with certainly the chamber's perspective on in this area. So that's the rationale.
Thank you. Casey?
I'll second that.
Seconding it? All right. All in favor? Suk?
Aye, yes.
In favor? All right. Unanimous. I should ask anyone opposed because not everybody put their hand up, I was assuming. All right, thank you. It's carried. Next item, please.
All right, item 6.3, this is ALC application for non-farm use at 29623 Downs Road. And planner Daniel Graham will provide an introduction.
Afternoon, Daniel Graham, development planner with the city of Abbotsford. Before you is an application.
Maybe speak up a little bit.
We have an application for non-farm use to build a proposed school building and storage facility on a 1.5 hectare site in West Abbotsford at the corner of Ross and Downs Road. The subject property is currently comprised of 2 parcels. It operates right now as the Pacific Christian School on the Church of God in Christ. They are looking to consolidate the site and the school building to get out of the classrooms out of the church. Subject property has a split designation. It's institutional, recognizes the existing uses, and the smaller parcel is zoned, or it's designated agricultural. Zoning aligns with this. The smaller parcel is A1. Should the proposal be viewed favorably, they will be required to rezone to B3 to match the southern larger parcel. Soil capability is silt clay. a conceptual site plan showing the proposed locations of the facility. At this time, I would ask the committee to resolve to support the application as proposed, support it in another format, or not support the application or provide no comment.
Okay, is the applicant?
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Gadet, and I'm joined here this afternoon by Tony Regier, who is representing the church. We appreciate your time today. We are in receipt of the report that Daniel has prepared. It's dated September the 8th, and we find that report thorough, accurate, and his presentation today was very clear. The Church of God in Christ has been operating a church on the subject site since the late 50s. In addition, Pacific Christian School has been operating a school in the back portion of the church building since 1976. Both the church and school meet the city's zoning bylaws and have approval from the ALC to operate in their present fashion. I want this committee to understand that the church and school are both in compliance with both authorities. The purpose of this application is to allow the church and school to add a new school to better serve their children. The present school facility is just not up to today's standards. The church is fortunate to own two pieces of property that are contiguous. One site is 1/4 of an acre, zoned agriculture, and is located in the ALR. The site is currently occupied by a very old house. No agriculture takes place on that site. The second site is 3.8 acres, zoned P3, is in the ALR, and is designated institutional in the city's OCP. The larger site houses the church, school, parking lot, playing fields, and septic field for the church and school. The proposal would see the consolidation of the two sites into one. The larger site is zoned property for the proposed use and is also consistent with the OCP designation. The smaller site is not zoned correctly for the proposed use, and therefore the proposal would need the support of ALC and the city, and as a result, we have filed the non-farm use application. We're very pleased that the larger site is zoned properly and in the OCP for the current use as a school and a church. Upon review of MOA's comments, and we respect their comments, they suggest the expansion takes place on the parking lot of the larger site. This parking lot is needed for the church. We also believe to replace the parking lot in the playing field would not be acceptable to the city or the ALC, would need the septic field to be relocated, and would reduce the playing field area for the children and those attending the church. MOA raised the issue of potential noise, dust, and odor complaints. To the best of the knowledge of the church, neighbors have not complained about the use of the church or this site as a church and a school, and most certainly we know the church and the school have never complained about the neighbors' agricultural uses or their practices. We just do not believe that this is an issue, especially given the length of time the church and school have been on this site. It is our opinion that the proposal will not have any negative impact on agriculture or our agricultural neighbors. Now, normally when I appear before this committee, it's very easy to point out how my application and the project benefits agriculture. This project is a little different. This proposal is not directly related to agriculture. It is a school and a church, but it is a school and a church located in a rural area, surrounded by farms, and it is farmers, their brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews, and the members of the community who are the people attending the church and sending their kids to this school. I think having a modern and appropriate facility for the school kids is a benefit to those who attend the church as well as the school. As well, the gymnasium will be used for community and church events. We know children are our future. Their education and social development are key components to building a strong working community. Larger classrooms would enhance their learning experience, and a gymnasium would provide an indoor play area, doubling as a social area to host school programs and community events. That, in turn, is a benefit to farmers, and by extension, a benefit to farmers should also be a benefit to agriculture. In closing, churches and schools locating in our agricultural area in Abbotsford is very common. And of course, on this site, it's been the practice since the late 50s. All we're trying to do is provide a modern, up-to-date facility for the kids without impacting agriculture. We trust you agree, and that you will recommend approval of this proposal to City Council. We appreciate your time. Tony and I will do our best. If you have any questions, we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the committee? No? All right, do we have a motion then?
Sorry, I had one question.
Sure.
I know, Brian, you went through rationale for not building on the existing property, but I guess when I look at the site map, there looks like there's a lot of room compared to the quarter acre lot that you're looking to amalgamate with it. So is there not a possibility to do it on the existing property?
Physically, the answer is yes. Of course, relocation of the septic field, that's also possible. Reducing the area of the playing field is also possible. Neither of those two are attractive. But the real issue, as mentioned in the report, is historically, back in, Tony will correct me if I'm wrong, in the 80s or the 90s, that was proposed to the ALC and they said absolutely not. They are looking long-term, Casey, and they see that area as at some point in time could very well be turned back into agriculture. So that's the rationale for the proposal as presented.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I want to make this work. And I think the city needs to look at creating space for more institutional. But as it is right now, I'll just hold off, and I see there's other questions, so I'll hold off.
Okay, Angela?
Yes, thank you for explaining the rationale in regards to this proposal. One question I have is the students that attend this school, are they local students? If there was I know there's probably not a catchment area, but if there was a catchment area, how many of those students are within whatever the boundaries of a local catchment area is for school, and how many of them are commuting from other catchment schools? If you could comment on that, thank you.
Tony, could you address that? She basically wants to know if the students, how many of them live close by versus commute.
Majority of the students would
You
live.
could direct your voice.
Majority of the students would live within about probably 10, 12 minutes of the school.
Did you pick that up, Angela?
Yeah, but I'm not familiar with how long of a commute is reasonable for a student. Like, I'm sorry, maybe I should have researched up like distances for catchment areas, but is that normal for catchment area to commute 12 minutes, or do most students have like a shorter commute than that?
That is outside my pay grade as well, Ann.
I would say any kid that's living in the country has at least a 10-minute commute.
Okay, thanks.
That's a good answer, Casey. Anyone else? Katerina?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a tricky one because, as was mentioned, there's no like direct agricultural production, for example. However, people need to live and work on the ALR, and so obviously the existence of this church and the school and many others other churches certainly on ALR, like it's not unprecedented. I also would like to support it, but also agree that, as long as other options have been exhausted, that because it's an existing institution, that being able to modify it to better modernize and serve the needs of the farmers and their families that live in the ALR should be something that we would support. Those are my thoughts.
All right, are you prepared to make a motion? Or sorry, Matt, you had a hand up?
Yeah, I think I would make a motion to support the application. It's like I have a few concerns with the precedent, but we're not taking any land out of production, and I'm not familiar with the site. So I trust that they've done their research and they're trying to balance the ideal scenario with the funds at hand and trying to come up with an economical way of improving their facilities. So based on that, I will support the motion.
So sorry, there isn't a motion on the floor, so you're making a motion, Matt?
I would present a motion, sorry,
Okay.
to support.
Do we have a seconder? Casey, are you seconding?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Is anyone opposed? Angela's opposed. Sue, your vote?
No, I'm in favor.
You're in favor. Thank you. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you. Next item, please.
All right, next item, 6.4, ALC application for non-adhering residential use at 30690 Downs Road, and Anne Marie will provide an introduction.
Good afternoon, everyone. There we go. As you see before you, this is a non-adhering residential application. The property is located at 30690 Downs Road. The subject property is located on the south side of Downs Road, east of the intersection with Mount Lehman Road. The subject property is approximately 2.2 hectares, 5.5 acres, and within the ALR. There is a roadside ditch parallel to the front property line and an undeveloped wooded sloped area at the frontage. OCP land use designation is agriculture. It is zoned agricultural 1. The soils are silt and clay. On site, there is an existing dwelling and barns, which will be demolished if the application is approved. The applicants revised the access driveway from the original submission to run parallel to the east property line. The proposed siting of the dwelling is beyond the requirements of the streamside protection bylaw minimum setbacks to the roadside ditch. The applicant is proposing to construct a 504 square meter dwelling with a detached garage and a detached shed. Since the dwelling exceeds 500 square meters, they have not provided evidence of having farm status, and they do not reside in the existing dwelling. They do not comply with the city's standing resolution for replacement dwellings, and therefore must be approved by the ALC. At this time, I would ask the committee to resolve to either support the application as proposed, support the application in another format, not support the application, or provide no comment. Thank you.
Is the applicant here?
I'm not sure. They said they were going to attend, but I haven't seen them.
You haven't seen them? Okay. Okay, we're just checking to see if the applicant is out there, but in the meantime, Angela, did you want to?
Yeah, I have a question. Maybe this sounds like a silly question, but why is this being proposed to our group? Like what bylaw are they contravening? If someone can just elaborate on that. Thank you.
No bylaw.
Okay.
But it is your siting of the house at the rear of the property does not comply with the Ministry of Agriculture's siting bylaws guidelines, I believe it's called.
Okay.
Because it's set so far back from the front property line.
Okay.
And it is in excess in size of the ALC required 500 square meters. It's 504.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, the applicant had already proposed a larger house previously, and it had been reviewed by the ALC, didn't have or AAC, didn't have support, and ultimately the applicant chose to withdraw their application. They revised it, and this is what they've come back with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? It looks like the applicant isn't here, so. Katerina?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just reading the concerns from the Ministry of Agriculture, and it seems like they've got some valid questions. Like, are you able to speak to some of their concerns? For example, 5 acres of blueberries is less than the minimum size of parcel required by that crop for a commercially viable farm enterprise. You know, the first
Certainly.
bullet as well. Yeah.
Anne-Marie, just 1 second. I think we have the ministry online, and so perhaps they would like to speak to their comments.
Thanks. I was hoping you wouldn't poke me on the blueberry one because I don't have the agrologist here today. I'm the land use planner, unfortunately. So some of those comments were from a land use perspective, and some of them were from an agrology perspective. So I can speak to the land use ones. Otherwise, I can try and phone Kim very quickly and see if she has time to pop on as well. If you have burning questions from an agrologist side.
Land use is totally fine. If you could speak to whatever you can.
Sure. Just don't have the package open in front of me here, so just give me a second.
And then the other piece is, you know, I was just hoping also for an explanation from the applicant as to how they address these concerns. So not just the explanation of Ministry of Ag concerns, but more specifically, I was interested in the applicant's sort of response to those concerns.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're not in attendance.
I guess the presenter doesn't have the answers either, because if the presenter had some kind of information, that would be helpful, not to put them on the spot, but that was just another thought.
The only thing I can provide is that they do not have proof of farm status. From what I understand, they do not actually actively farm this parcel at this time. However, their intent is that once they remove the existing house and barns, which are sort of central in the parcel, they would like to plant blueberries, but there is nothing there at this time.
Thank you. Helpful. Matt?
Yeah, a couple of comments, I guess. As far as the location of the property, I guess I would be okay with putting it the same distance from the road as from the back of the property. Like if they have to be within 100 feet of the road, I guess I could compromise with putting it at 100 feet from the back of the property, because it provides the same size field without encumbrance. As far as the 504, just on principle, I recommend they just shave off 4 square meters. It just seems fairly trivial to apply for 504.
Thank you. Angela, I see your hand up. I don't know if it was from before.
I'm sorry, I forgot to remove it. I thank you for reminding.
All right, can we get a motion from the committee, please?
I'd like to motion to not support as presented. I think just even what was raised in terms of, taking down to 500 versus 504 is a good point. I also think that there are some questions that have not been fully really explained. It's the area is currently not being used for agricultural purposes. So right now, not support as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Matt. All in favor? Suk, Okay, are you in favor or opposed?
In favor of the motion.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next item, please.
Right. Next is item 6.5. This is a development variance permit application for an accessory processing use at 32840 Township Line Road. And again, Anne Marie will provide an introduction.
As Mark has said, this is for a development variance permit. Ordinarily, these aren't brought to AAC, but because this one has a requirement for me as well as the applicant to your thoughts on this proposal. The subject property is located at 32840 Township Line Road. It is located at the intersection of Township Line Road and Gladwin Road. The property is approximately 34 hectares, 84 acres, and within the ALR. Gifford Slough forms the south property line, and roadside ditches run parallel to the west property line and a portion of the north property line. The OCP land use designation is agriculture. It is zoned agricultural 2. The soils are a combination of sand and silt and clay. On site, there is an existing dwelling and 175,000 square meters of greenhouse. There is a 57,000 square meter greenhouse under building permit and an active application for a site-specific amendment to the zone to permit 1,300 square meters of seasonal workers housing. That has been through the AAC, the previous application, and has been approved by the ALC. Oh, sorry. The applicant is proposing an accessory processing use for a 5,905 square meter produce processing plant. This requires a development variance permit under AgriFresh transition approach to vary the zoning bylaw from the current 2,000 square meters to 5,904 square meters. The greenhouse facility employs a wastewater recirculation irrigation system, and at least 50% of the product intended for processing originates from the subject property. The build out will comply with the zone lot coverage and complies with the ALC 50% rule. At this time, I would ask the committee to resolve to either support the application as proposed, support the application in another format, not support the application, or provide no comment. Thank you.
Is the applicant here?
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Brian Gadet, and I'm joined here today by two family members, VJ and AJ Rendawa. We appreciate your time. We are in receipt of the report prepared by Anne Marie, the planner, dated September the 8th. We've read it. We find it accurate. She's done a wonderful job of presenting it. And the family and myself are much appreciative of the telephone calls, emails, and meetings that we've had on this file with Anne Marie. This is a very large farm operation. There are 2 applications in process, as well as greenhouse expansion under construction as we speak. I will provide up-to-date information for the committee, so all current information is known to you. You have a full agenda, so I'm going to speak quickly. The family farming operation is all about agriculture. The family farm is operated by the father Can and 3 sons. They have 4 greenhouse locations, producing bell peppers, cucumbers, mini peppers, mini cucumbers. All locations, all farms are in Abbotsford. This site is the main location. Once this farm location is fully built out, as Anne Marie mentioned, there will be about 227,000 square meters of greenhouse growing space, approximately 5,900 square meters of processing space, we hope, for their products and only their products, and seasonal worker housing for 100 employees. Recently, this committee recommended to council your support for the seasonal worker housing for 100 workers. The family very much appreciates your support for that application. We are just in the final stages of finalizing that application with staff. Our rationale for your support is that proposal for this proposal is that it is of practical benefit to the family farm and agriculture. Non-support means that the family will face, on an annual basis, operational inefficiencies and the added risk of product damage and introduction of diseases when transporting products between farms. These issues and other issues listed in Anne Marie's report will have a negative impact on the farm, and that's just not good for agriculture. With that in mind, here's an up-to-date summary of the current and planned expansion on this farm. Phase 3 has been completed, is in production, which takes it to 175,000 square feet of greenhouse growing space. The family just consolidated a 5-acre site with a 78-acre site, the main title, and this has cleared the way for the 4th and final phase of greenhouse production. It will be another 57,000 square meters once completed, which will mean a total of 232,000 square meters of greenhouse growing space. 2 seasonal worker houses have already been demolished to make way for phase 4 greenhouse, which has started and will be planted late this year or early next year. The application that Anne Marie has listed in her report is for farm product processing facility. This processing facility is an approved use under ALC and city regulations, but the city currently has a limit of 2,500 square feet under AgriFresh, 2,500 square meters under AgriFresh, 2,000 square meters pre-AgriFresh, and this application is for 5,900 square meters. There are a number of berry processing facilities and 1 greenhouse operation that have all received variances from council in the last 5 to 6 years for larger processing facilities, so we're hopeful that this application will be successful. Page 3 of Anne Marie's report highlights the details of the processing plant and the family's rationale for the proposed size. I'm not going to repeat that this afternoon. As a reminder, this application is an approved use under ALR regulations, does not need to go to ALC, since 100% of the products being processed or proposed to be processed from this facility will originate from the family's farming operation. We're very pleased with the comments from the Ministry of Agriculture and their support for their project. The family is very happy that MOA supports the proposed location and recognize the operational efficiencies that on-site processing of their products will bring to their farm. MOA were concerned and legitimately concerned about the farm's future growth when they put forward their comments. But their concern is no longer an issue since the final phase of greenhouse construction is substantially underway. I am sure the committee will also agree that given the location of existing greenhouses, the detention pond, the water courses, and the proposed seasonal worker housing location, the family has selected a location on the site that not only works very well for the farm, but it's the best use of farmland. Does the proposal protect the land base? Absolutely. It's using an existing hard surface and is on the perimeter of the farm. What impact will the proposed facility have on adjacent farmland? We don't believe any. Gladwin Road to the west, well, the balance is surrounded by greenhouses, storage, and water tanks. Does the processing facility directly enhance and benefit current farming operations? We believe so. On-site processing saves time, money regarding movement of product between farms. It reduces the risk of diseases introduced with the movement of product between farms. All of the above makes good sense to agriculture and allows this farm to grow. The proposal meets all conditions of the zoning bylaw with the exception of size. It meets all ALR regulations and it has MOA support. The city and this committee have approved other proposals and we're hopeful they will approve this one, and we believe it does benefit agriculture. In conclusion, the agricultural strategy for Abbotsford is the promotion and strengthening of the viability of agriculture enterprise. This family is 100% involved in agriculture. The benefits of the proposal are substantial to the family and agriculture in Abbotsford. The proposal makes good sense when considering the best use of farmland. We hope you agree and we hope you can recommend support for this proposal to council. Thank you. Both AJ and VJ would be happy to answer any questions proposed by staff or by this committee.
Thank you. Would you like to add anything more?
They don't have anything to add. Used up enough time, but we're more than willing to answer questions.
All right.
Well, we just want to be thankful. We're thankful for approving. Helped us a lot, and we're hopeful that this can.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the committee? Casey.
Yeah, just like to say it was a extremely thorough report, and yeah, I would make a motion to support as presented, and would just recommend to the city that they look at amending their current zoning bylaws in order. I mean, the agriculture is growing, businesses are growing, and the production facility needs to match the greenhouse that's there. So I fully support the proposals presented.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Angela. Any other questions? No, call the question. All in favor? Your vote?
In favor.
Great. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, next item, please.
All right, next item, two left here. So the next item is 6.6, ALC application for a non-adhering residential use at 5133 Bates Road. Over to Anne Marie.
You guys are going to get sick of hearing from me, but anyways, as Mark said, this is a non-adhering residential use for a replacement dwelling. The subject property is located at 5133 Bates Road. The subject property is located on the west side of Bates Road, midway between the intersections of Bates Road with Harris and Township roads. The subject property is approximately 18 hectares, 45 acres, and within the ALR. There is a roadside ditch parallel to the frontage on Bates Road and an on-site water courses, including along the south property line. OCP land use designation is agriculture. It is zoned agricultural 2. The soils are a combination of silt and clay, peat and silt and clay. Clay and silt and clay, sorry. On site, there is an existing dwelling and farm buildings. The area proposed for the new dwelling is located in a steep slope area that may require a geotechnical assessment prior to construction. The applicant is proposing to construct a new dwelling which will be less than 500 square meters to replace the existing 200 plus meter square dwelling with a new access along the south property line. Upon completion of the new dwelling, the existing dwelling will be used for a non-residential purpose, which will include storage and office space. Since the existing dwelling will not be converted to a permitted residential use, it does not comply with the city's standing resolution for replacement dwellings, as they do not fully comply with the ALC regulations. They have not provided evidence of having farm status, and they are not converting the residence to a residential use. At this time, I would ask the committee to resolve to support the application as proposed, support the application in another format, not support the application, or provide no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. The applicant is not in attendance, so Minnie, what are your wishes? Any thoughts? Anyone?
Yeah, just question, they said they don't have agriculture status. It's a 45 acre piece. Is most of it hillside, or why is it not? Like, is no one farming it right now?
They own the property to the north, as well, which is, I believe, a compost facility. But right now they say they have been, the previous, I think it was their parents, did have dairy cattle, but they currently are not farming it. They may have hay, they haven't confirmed that. And that's about all I can confirm with you.
Anyone else? Okay, do we have a motion?
So just to be clear, the reason why we're seeing this, like the house is small enough, it's a big parcel of land. The reason we're seeing this is because the existing house is being changed into storage rather than housing. Is that the issue?
Storage and an office.
Okay. I don't know if there's other questions.
Just to add to Anne Marie's response there. So if they chose to demolish the house in advance of starting the new home, it would not be before the AAC or the committee today. But because they're choosing to retain the house while they're constructing the new home and then converting it to a non-residential use, storage or an ag building of some kind, that's what's triggering it being at the committee today.
Thanks.
Right, do we have a motion? Casey?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to support it.
Right,
For
we
the
have a
application
second.
as presented.
We have a seconder? Seconded by Katerina. All in favor? Suk, you in favor or opposed?
Can you repeat the motion, please?
Is in favor to support, to recommend support.
Yeah, I'll support it.
All right, thank you. Motion's carried then. Next item.
All right, item 6.7, ALC application for a non-adhering residential use at 5570 Ross Road. Anne Marie.
Again, this is a non-farm use application for a dog training facility. The subject property is located at 5570 Ross Road. It is located at the intersection of Ross Road and Harris Road. The subject property is approximately 4 hectares or 10 acres and within the ALR. There is a roadside ditch parallel to the north property line. OCP land use designation is agriculture, and it is zoned agricultural 1. The soils are till. On site, there is an existing dwelling, farm buildings, and a manufactured home in the northwest portion of the subject property. The approximately 0.9 hectare proposed area for the non-farm use is in the southwest portion of the subject property and has an existing fabric-covered barn. The barn was previously used for horse training. All existing structures were constructed or placed with the required permits and approvals. The applicant is proposing to repurpose the horse training barn as an indoor dog training facility. There is a building permit for a second structure, which will have a deck with pools for dog water training. The applicant can currently accommodate at least 50 off-street parking spaces. Since this use is not a permitted agricultural use, it must be approved by the ALC. At this time, I would ask the committee to resolve to support the application as proposed, support the application in another format, not support the application, or provide no comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, for the committee on the line, you may not be able to see, but the applicant is not here, so we'll just go ahead and discuss your thoughts. Anyone? Don't be shy. All right, can we have a motion from someone? Matt?
How many dogs are they proposing to train at this facility?
Right now, they're looking at about 3 days a week, and they say they have about 10 persons come, whether that's 10 dogs or more, I don't know. And that on occasion, they have events that will take place, but they're less than 30 people that would attend these events. And they're during the daytime in the inside the facility or outdoors in that same area. But they don't exceed the ALC number of gathering events that are permitted.
Casey?
Yeah, so I've kind of struggled with this one a little bit, not sure where to go, but I guess at the end of the day, I'm trying to picture where else would you do something like this? Like you can't run it out of a commercial warehouse too easily in town. And no offense to any horse lovers, but I guess I struggle to see the difference between horses and dogs as far as running them around a ring. So yeah, I'll wait and see what I see. Angela has her hand up, so
I
those are
think
my
Mark
comments.
wanted to address the question on horses versus dogs.
I didn't answer that part, but I will say that what's proposed is a dog training facility. The ALC regulations and the city zoning bylaw allows for the breeding and boarding of dogs. So it's the training component that is not permitted, and that's what's triggering the AAC's consideration.
As an extension to what Casey said, I'm struggling to see why dogs need to be trained on agricultural land. Like, are these dogs that are being trained, are they primarily going to be housed with residents in residential areas where they'll be interacting in an urban environment? Like, why do they need to be in an agricultural environment to be trained? That's kind of what I'm struggling with in regards to that. And I didn't see anything in regards to horse training. Is there a lack of interest for that? Is that why they're converting over to dog training? I didn't really see anything in the reports in regards to that. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Thanks.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't think you probably don't feel comfortable asking.
Yeah, it's the gentleman who owns it. He did horse training and he has gotten out of it. I think he's 65. And there will be no boarding or kenneling of dogs overnight at this facility.
Thank you. Katerina.
Sorry, you're on mute, Katerina.
Thank you. I took the hand down, but I forgot to unmute myself. I was just saying that I also share the same sort of feelings as the rest of my colleagues who've expressed themselves so far. It just seems like this is not a real appropriate fit for use on ALR, for land use on ALR, and it just seems that they're not even using the land for farming purposes either. So I also too, I'm not really sure what the difference was between, in terms of the value to the land, between the horse training versus the dog training. So I'm not sure how they got approved to begin with, but regardless, it just seems difficult to justify the proposal as presented for me at this point.
Do we have a motion to put on the floor?
I'd like to motion to not approve, correct my wording if I'm wrong, but I don't want to support the motion as it stands.
Well, you're moving to not recommend support.
Yes, not recommend support. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
We have a reason.
Do you want to specify your reasoning?
My rationale is I would like to know why dogs need to be trained on agricultural land, like what the value of that is in regards to not training them on urban land. I didn't see that in there, and I think that would provide some more insight into my recommendations. So thank you.
Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Katarina. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of the motion? No one opposed. Suk, are you in favor or opposed?
In favor of the motion.
Favor, okay, thank you. Motion is carried. Thank you. I think that is it. We only have the member roundtable. Anything anyone wish to mention from their organization? Oh, Casey?
Yeah, just a couple points in regard to the meetings. First of all, just to be clear, we are welcome in person now, or are we not?
Yes, absolutely you are. Yes, in fact, I prefer it if you can make it.
Okay. And then I guess the other thing so I seen the email that the city sent out about the cancellation of the October meeting.
That wasn't sent out by the city though. Oh, the October meeting, sorry.
Yeah, the October one. And I guess so I contacted one of the other members and he said, well, when it was canceled, I made other plans. I was trying to get him on the line. So I guess maybe just to suggest that wait till the September, like don't cancel the following month's meeting just before the previous ones, because I almost assumed it was September as well till I looked a little closer.
Oh,
And then one other question, can we have, when we have 6 or 7 of these, and maybe you had it somewhere, but I didn't see it, can we have just like an index or whatever of the 7 proposals? Or was that on there somewhere? Like at just a front page here, here's the 7 proposals that we have in front of us, rather than scrolling through the whole document and then finding where they are.
well, that should be the agenda, like the first few pages of your package.
Okay, maybe I didn't see it closely enough then. I'll
Yeah,
look.
it should have that in the first couple of pages.
Okay, thanks.
So Casey, on Adobe, on the toolbar, there's this option it's like an icon, it says outline. If you click on that, it'll break down all the agenda items by figures and tables and like letters of attachments. So you can just quickly click on that and it'll just take you straight to that page.
Thanks.
That's useful for me too, because I'm always scrolling through as well. So like I know it's in the beginning part, but there's a lot of content that you have to scroll through. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Anyone else?
I just wanted to say as well that I also got confused about today. So I did send an email to ask and then saw at 1:45, I guess, that it was still on. So apologies for being late on my end as well. But I was also confused about whether today was going on or not.
All right, thank you. We appreciate that input. And right, so we just need a motion to adjourn then. Moved by Casey, second by Katarina, all in favor. Any opposed? Carried. Thank you for your time. And your input, much appreciated. Have a good afternoon.